What if you walked into your bathroom one morning and saw a black hand crawling out of your toilet? For Bong Soo and his wife, that nightmare was real, and what started as one hand turned into a fight for survival against something far darker. Stay tuned and subscribe, because the next hand might reach for you. One morning, Bong Soo came across something horrifying in his bathroom. A black, eerie-looking hand was reaching up from the toilet. Terrified, he panicked and shouted for his wife. She assumed he was just out of toilet paper and didn't even glance into the bowl. But once Bong Soo pointed it out, she finally spotted the hand sticking out of the toilet. Neither of them could make sense of what they were seeing. Since it didn't appear to be a prank, his wife leaned in to take a closer look. The hand was jet black, with razor-like fingernails. She froze, staring in shock. Suddenly, the hand twitched. She screamed and fainted on the spot. Thankfully, Bong Soo managed to catch her before she hit the floor. He propped her up against the wall and checked her condition. Fortunately, she was only unconscious. Bong Soo immediately called the police to report what had happened. Just as he hung up, the doorbell rang. He went to answer it while his wife slowly slipped down onto the floor. At the door was the building's security guard. The police had already contacted him, so he arrived to check things out. Bong Soo led him to the bathroom. The guard's eyes went wide when he saw the toilet. Then, he rushed over to check on the unconscious woman. Bong Soo explained she had passed out after seeing the hand. The guard turned back to the toilet, even more unsettled than before. But suddenly, his suspicions shifted. He thought he was being fooled. Snatching up a plunger, he assumed Bong Soo was the culprit. Bong Soo tried to explain, but the guard wasn't convinced. At that moment, the doorbell rang again. As Bong Soo went to answer, he warned the guard not to touch anything, but the guard couldn't resist inching closer to the toilet. Just then, the emergency crew arrived. They asked what kind of call this was. Bong Soo replied, "There's a hand in my toilet." The responders looked doubtful, but followed him inside anyway. The moment they reached the bathroom, they noticed something off. The security guard was lying lifeless on the floor. The crew quickly restrained Bong Soo, assuming he had attacked him. Ha-kun checked and confirmed the guard was dead. The captain rushed to examine Bong Soo's wife. She was still breathing, just unconscious. Then, Ha-kun spotted the eerie black hand sticking from the toilet. Bong Soo kept insisting he hadn't killed anyone. The captain told Ha-kun to pull out his phone and record everything as proof. Then he ordered him to yank the hand out. Ha-kun slipped on gloves and prepared to grab it. But the instant he reached in, the hand latched onto him. Kwon grabbed Ha-kun but couldn't pull him free. The captain jumped in to help. All three of them heaved with all their strength until Ha-kun was finally released. But then the black hand began writhing on its own, twitching unnaturally. Before anyone could react, it reached out again and seized Kwon. It hoisted him into the air as everyone watched in horror. With one single brutal twist, Kwon's neck snapped instantly. The sinister hand then retreated back into the toilet. Having witnessed 2 deaths, the captain turned to Bong Soo and demanded, "What the hell is that hand?" But Bong Soo had no explanation. The captain decided they had to escape immediately, but the door refused to open. That's because another blackened hand was gripping it shut from the outside. They were completely trapped in the bathroom. The captain tried to radio for backup, but there was no signal. Bong Soo pulled out his own phone, but it was also dead. Furious, he threw it straight into the toilet. But instead of sinking, the hand caught it, then flung it back. The phone flew across the room and embedded itself in the door like a blade. That's when the captain remembered a disturbing report. Just days earlier, a woman's corpse had been found. Her body was discovered in the sewers. Both hands had been severed. The captain started to believe the black hand might belong to her. Then he noticed something chilling. The dead security guard's hand was changing. It had turned black and began twitching. The captain froze in disbelief. Meanwhile, Ha-kun was deteriorating rapidly. He coughed up blood violently. His eyes rolled back, and he collapsed lifeless. No matter how hard he tried, nothing revived him. That's when they realized the truth. Anyone touched by the black hand became infected. Bong Soo immediately grabbed every bottle of disinfectant he could find. Shockingly, the hand recoiled at the spray. It was working! The captain shoved more bottles toward him and ordered, "Wake up your wife. We are fighting back." Bong Soo shook his wife awake. But when she saw the carnage, she screamed hysterically. In desperation, Bong Soo slapped her. She slapped him right back. He muttered, "Well, at least you're awake now." The captain tossed him a bottle of disinfectant and shouted, "Take out that hand!" But suddenly, Kwon rose from the ground. He had turned into a zombie! Bong Soo had to abandon the plan and fight him first. Out of nowhere, zombie Ha-kun grabbed the captain's leg and bit down. Bong Soo sprinted over and drenched him with disinfectant. It worked. The creature let go. The captain was free, but he was already infected. He knew he didn't have long. With his last strength, he told Bong Soo to ignite the phone and blow the door open. Bong Soo frantically searched for a lighter on Kwon's body. At last, he found one. But then the black hand clamped down on his head. In a final act, he tossed the lighter to his wife. Desperate to save him, she stripped off her shirt, sparked the lighter, and sprayed mist into the flame, unleashing a fiery blast at the hand. She freed Bong Soo, and luckily, he was unharmed. It was time running out. Bong Soo aimed the flame at the phone. After a few tense seconds, boom! The explosion ripped a hole straight through the door. But another black hand still blocked the way. Bong Soo torched it until the doorway was finally clear. Just as they were about to flee, they froze. The entire apartment was swarming with those monstrous hands. Panicking, they turned to the captain for direction, but he was already fading. Moments later, he took his last breath. Before they could plan their next move, one of the hands seized Bong Soo's wife. Bong Soo kicked it with all his might, but it clung tightly. Only fire burned it off. But she had already been scratched. Worst of all, they had no spray left. Watching her weaken, Bong Soo made a desperate choice. He bolted into the hand-filled corridor without hesitation. He grabbed another spray can, though the sight of twitching hands made his skin crawl. Just then, his wife gathered her courage once again. She told him to remove his shirt. She tore it in half and wrapped it around a plunger. Once Bong Soo lit the makeshift torch, the flames roared brighter. Together, they cut through the swarm, torching hand after hand, but she was gravely injured. This time, Bong Soo didn't hesitate. He carried her in his arms and escaped the apartment like a true hero. When he opened his eyes again, he was lying in a hospital bed. A nurse gently checked on him, but his only question was, "Where's my wife?" The nurse smiled and replied, "She's safe, and so is the baby." The baby? Bong Soo froze in confusion. His wife hadn't even been pregnant. He turned his head and saw a black hand clawing outside his hospital room. That was the last straw. Bong Soo ripped out his IV, stood tall, and transformed into a hand-slaying warrior. He swore every last cursed hand. Bong Soo thought the nightmare was finally over, but the black hands weren't done with him yet. What would you have done if they came for you? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe, because the next story might grab you too.